I guess when I was reading this book, I kept thinking, just to kind of play devil's advocate with myself, I guess, kept thinking about Major League Baseball and these camps they have set up all over Latin America. And now, obviously, some of these players are Afro-Latinos, but more of them are not. Yet a lot of the same things the same issues are prevalent in terms of exploitation, in terms of the lack of power they have in the institutional structure of Major League Baseball. So I guess other than the fact that in the United States, kind of like you're saying, being poor and being black are kind of inextricably linked, what makes this specifically, I guess I was questioning if this can only be, I guess, a racial argument when you think about these other sports, and especially thinking about Major League Baseball and poor Latinos.
Right, and see, that's the thing. That's part of where I was talking about Rhoden and being too binary that I find to be a bit of a problem. Because what you're saying right there is absolutely correct. I think the story coming out about the young man who died in one of those academies recently has really gotten around. Is that we forget about some of these struggles for other people. Like there's something weird about the United States, and I don't think that enough has been made out of this. I guess it's not just the United States, but I think it's fascinating. If you pay in football, it manifests itself more and more because football is much more diverse than basketball, but it's also quite segregated. The black guys who play football are far more likely to have grown up poor. The white guys are far more likely to have grown up rich. For sons of players, your dad was a coach or something like that. People got the money to get them to lessons and get them around in the summers to play all of these games. Like we've almost got two worlds going on at the same time that people forget about. And we don't think about it because the white kids are getting exploited too. It's just that their parents have money, so it's like we don't care, right? It's like nobody thinks about it. They don't complain because they're not broke, and they don't think about it within the same context, right? The expansion of what Rhoden talks about, I do think should extend to the Afro-Latino guys because the part of it I think that gets lost, not just Afro-Latinos, the Latinos playing in the Caribbean. The thing about it is once they get to the United States, you can make this argument about a language barrier if you want, but I don't think that holds. Like how many of those folks, those guys that are coming from these academies, how much do you hear from? How interested are they in anything that involves rocking the boat? And that's a big thing that comes, I think, when you start talking about guys that are coming from different countries. So, for example, not to take it back to kind of sports so quickly, but there's a situation where there's a guy, I forget his name, but he runs this AAU program called Indiana Elite. And Indiana Elite is a big deal because basically all the good players you see on Indiana's basketball team right now, they pretty much all play for Indiana Elite. Like the return of Indiana Elite has been this pipeline from Indiana Elite there. Well, this guy also happened to run a program that is a basketball outreach program in Africa, right? And what has been alleged by many people is that these guys are in Africa and then they bring them over, from the outreach program and they live in somebody's house in the United States. So it's like, oh wow, basketball has delivered this young man from his impoverished hell and brought him to the enlightenment of the Western world. And then they get to the Western world and there's pressure on them for where to go to school because there's shoe companies involved. There's this guy's AAU program, the relationships that he has, and everything else. And it feels as if guys are afraid to do what they want to do in terms of their school choice because they're afraid they'll be sent right back to where they came from. That's a very, very similar thing, I think, that happens with the guys in the baseball academies. They give them this money up front. That's not really a whole lot of money to get them over, but if you're the Dominican Republic, $30,000 could possibly change your world. All of these things are setting guys up to where once they're on, they are powerless. They feel very much so gratitude for where they are, and basically leads them to being in the same situation that Rhoden describes black athletes as being in. So I think you're absolutely correct that the danger in racializing it is ignoring how common some of these factors are for people, not just in this country, but also in the rest of the world.